All right, so the TTAC16 finals will be starting shortly. I thought I should give a little intro talking, just, get us all acquainted. This is going to be, nope, I opened up the wrong spreadsheet. This is going to be Turdz versus Akiyama. Obviously, two all time greats of the game. Akiyama on the way here has beaten Vialva, Stuff, and Seto in the semifinals. I would say Akiyama's best round was against Stuff. I thought his open play against Stuff was really superb. In the semifinals against Seto, he did win double closed. Of course, that takes skill, but obviously, we here tend to be higher on winning the open games. One thing to note from that I didn't mention, because I thought their open games looked really clean, and that there was basically there. I thought there was nothing missed. It turns out there was one game with something missed. The second open closed game that went. Can I remember? Seto started with an AA corner in 3. Akiyama played in 9. Seto played a corner in 1, and Akiyama played in 6. That actually Seto had a win there, but it was very hard to find, I think. Seto ended up playing in 2, which made a ton of sense. 339A was his card for 2 and 6. 6 was occupied, so he put it in 2. But he actually had a win with a, and you can go look at that position and try to find it if you want. This will be your last chance. Very difficult move to find. And not a situation where you're really looking for a move to be there, but a 9-8, 2-8, and 8 with the point that if Akiyama takes 2, you then play 3-3, 9A, and 7, and 9A, 4-4 actually sweeps the endgame. It is pluses against everything. Kind of insane line to find. The kind that I think literally like only Seto ever finds. But he did not find it there, and Akiyama ended up taking the match. But as I said, I was really impressed by Akiyama's match first stuff. Another interesting thing about Akiyama's run is every round he has won 2-1. Okay, we're getting the open game. Sweet. So the stipulations here, and then we'll talk a little about Turd's path, is all rules, locked decks, so only decks that require unlocks, which is a pretty limited pool. I know Turdz was thinking Akiyama might run RB Adia here, because Akiyama, who won SC Adia, obviously has an affection for that card. Must use 1 card per level and max of 1 rare. So also Turd's run. We should talk a little about Turd's run to get here. Turdz could, if he wins this, be, I think, the only player ever, and there might be an exception in recent years, but I think this would be true, the only player ever to win a tournament having beaten another winner in every round of the tournament. He 2-0'd Smokes. They didn't play the open set. I think he did get a win on the open closed and open. He 2-1's Tezuka in a very interesting quarterfinals, where again I thought he played fantastically. And he 2-0's Vid in the semifinals to get here. I think his run has been a little cleaner so far, but also the best round for both of them in terms of level of play, I think, was Turd's win in the corridors against Tezuka and Akiyama's win against Stuff, and I think those were pretty similar in quality. I really, really liked both. I know that no predictions had either of these players winning the tournament, but I think this was in part because Akiyama had a very difficult bracket where it looked like he'd have to beat both Seto and Delial to get there. Turns out he only had to beat one of those, but he also had to beat the guy who beat Delial, and he still had to beat Seto, so that's still a just insane bracket to get through. And Turdz also had a pretty difficult bracket where a lot of people picked Sir Smokes. Tezuka was there. I picked Tezuka to make it out of the bracket, and Vid was there on the other side. And DJ could have easily been the opponent. And DJ is very good, and I think good in a TTAC type format as well. So, yeah. 2 players who you look at them here in the finals and you're like, yeah, of course they're in the finals, but also no one actually predicted them both to make it. And no one predicted either of them to win. Which means the prediction contest is over, and I tied for first, with myself, actually. The 2 top predictions. Okay, so Turdz is going to use his lowest level card, which makes a lot of sense. You can see he's basically running opposite A9s, and then he has 2 more corners. He doesn't quite have power facing out from 3. He's not going to have a corner for 3 after his starter. But, of course, his starter is a corner for 3, and all of the rest of his hand is at least partially happy to be facing in this direction. Let's think a little about hands. Turdz is gone. I want the biggest kind of 2-power cards I can get while having some dynamism. So for level 10, I'm going to go an A9-6-4. That's the biggest corner, A9, at least non-rare division. But 6-4 is kind of the best backup numbers I can get. A9-4-4 pairs with that. It also gives me a double number. It's the most raw power available at level 9. 8962 is the max non-9-9 corner. So he's not going like the max corner. He's not going AAs, but he's going kind of the max corner where you can have a card that has some directional power elsewhere. 7458 is similar. Again, it's not an 8-8 corner, and only with the level 6, which I suspect was intended to be used as a starter, because you tend to want to play your hand up. Like, start with level 6, then the level 7, then level 8, leave level 9 and 10 to sweep. It's only with that he goes for the max corner combo. But he's like close to max corner combo and focused on the 2 main numbers. Akiyama has gone quite different. A lot more tri-directional cards on these picks. 1678 is of course more tri-directional than 2288. 8831 is less than 7458, but if you sort of aggregated those two and said 2288 and 1883 are very similar, 1678 is more tri-directional than 7458, but 7458 is a little more dynamic, and the 5 kind of powering up the 7 often means its strong corner plays a little more powerfully. 8951 versus 8962. I've seen Akiyama run cards like this 8915 before. He doesn't mind having slightly lower number combos if he feels it clicks with something. And here you can see how it would have synergy with the 2 1s facing up. In fact, the 3 1s facing... Oh my god, Akiyama has 3 1s facing up? This is deranged behavior. I see why Turdz started at the top of the board. But you can see why that card would have synergy with those cards. Though, of course, having a 2 facing down, as 9828 does, also makes a lot of sense, because it gives easy recaptures without having to use a high number. The 5-1 also has potential to plus wall off the 1678, potentially. The 8-5 has potential to plus wall off the 1678. There can be benefits of these lower numbers, and he certainly might have synergistic plans using them. But it is curious to use 8915 when 8962 is available. But probably wanted the left power over the down power as well. And then there's 9828 and 1989, which are very much, I want tri-directional cards that might be able to sweep the endgame. But the disadvantage of these cards is they often are not as good defensively. And I've talked about this in recent videos. Tri-directional cards can make for good sweepers, but can be worse defensively on second turn trying to hold. Akiyama takes immediately. The first thing I notice is Turdz does not have safety in 9. But Akiyama is really giving up so much upward power. And so Turdz is going to be able to keep the game on the top of the board. Now, I guess Akiyama's point is if 8962 and 2, he has that covered by 1989. And if 4984 and 2, he doesn't have combo potential, but he can take it, and Turdz doesn't have 5. So, okay, he has a very clear point here. And it's a compelling point. One thing to note, though, is actually 7, 4, 5, 8, and 9. 4984 covers both of Akiyama's potential recaptures. Now, it doesn't cover them quite well enough. If 7, 4, 5, 8, and 9, and Akiyama plays 8, 9, 1, 5, and 8, and Seto plus walls in 7, Akiyama will same back in 5. So it's probably all okay for Akiyama there, but... This looks so off to me. I don't know quite how to put it. But maybe there's just no punish. She has this well worked out. This is actually one of those spots where a big setup in 8 I think would be really appealing to me from Turdz, because if you do get the combo in 5, normally that's not that great. You go 8, they go 9, you get the combo in 5, but they can just go in 2 and take 3 anyway. But Akiyama doesn't actually have a way to play in 2 while taking 3, because 8915 is hit by 4984, and 1989 is hit by 8962. So there could be versions of that, but there's just not a move for 8. Yeah, and Uberk punishes 8962 and 2, I think, sufficiently. I don't see why there'd be a very good follow up there. Maybe you can sequence some 8962 and 2 gets comboed by 1989, and then you play 7458 and 3. But I don't really see the point of this. Like sometimes moves like that exist. I don't see why it would exist here. Hmm. Yeah, this is weirdly strong for a move that has no directional power. My suspicion is almost that Turdz should leave this alone. Or could leave this alone. Not necessarily should. But I bet the solver will say something like 7458 and 7 ties. But Turdz's cards really don't feel like they click together here. They're just not covering many of the numbers. Huh. Yeah, I have no idea what I'd play if I was Turdz here. He's picked up 7458, so my guess is that's going in 9, which is sort of where I was headed too. Because even if the opponent can take from 8, you don't have to play 7 immediately. You can sort of keep open a lot of threats. You might have good potential. Of course, Akiyama could also go 2 or go 5, but yeah, 9 seems okay. I was wrong. I was going to say 9 seems the most balanced choice, but he did find a move in 8. But if you're setting up 49A4 to have 5, then you don't have coverage of the 5 facing left anymore. Okay. Now, one hilarious thing I did not notice is Akiyama barely has a card he can put in 9. Yeah, I totally missed this. This is a nice call from Turdz. Having all these ones facing up. That doesn't mean the move works, but this really says you have 3 ones facing up. It's actually hard for you to go safely in 9. So the only move in 9 that isn't immediately susceptible to combo. Now, how scary is the combo? Because 49A4 and 5, there is 1678 and 2, but I guess there's always 946A and 4. This is going to be a complicated game. It's going to be a complicated game. The simplest thing to do is 8915 and 9. And then I think we have to assume Turdz intends 49A4 and 5. I think that's the only reasonable assumption. Hmm. And then it can be kind of hard to find a move for Akiyama. Yeah. So that looks dangerous. Okay, this is interesting. This is better than I gave it credit for when I was kind of dismissing 8. Because Akiyama's one up weakness, which I've just done a bad job of thinking about, is I think really making a position that has like a bunch of promising features to it a lot more dangerous than it should be because you kind of need 8915. That's a really important card. So 89159, 49845, what does Akiyama do? If 1678 in 2, then presumably. Ooh, actually, how does this work? Because if 1678 and 2, if 946A and 4 combos back, look at the combo chain. That same wall's 5, right? And 5 overpowers 6, which overpowers 3, which overpowers 2, which means 1989 in 1 combos back. Because 2 goes through 5. Yeah. Is there something there? I'm not sure. That's a tricky line to trust when you've just calculated it once and not checked sidelines. Okay. Akiyama blocks 5, but I'm very interested. I suspect it didn't work, but 8915 and 9, 4984 and 2, and 5, does 1678 and 2 hold? I think it might. Okay, so Akiyama takes 5. Now Turdz has freedom to go in 9 if he wants it. and keep 49A4 and 8962 as sweepers, which are very good sweepers. So if Turdz goes, say, 946A and 9, then it's 5-5. If Akiyama sticks anything in 2, he has to keep 1838 in his hand. But if he puts 1989 in 2, then 8962 and 1, it's got to crunch him, right? And if he puts 1883 in 2, then 8962 can go in 7, and 49A4 sweeps the endgame. And if he puts 8915 in 2, then 49A4 and 1 crunches him. I don't know why I'm saying crunch. So I think 946A and 9, Akiyama cannot play 2. Is he intending to play 7? But I think if he plays 7, then just 49A4 and 4, Turdz double flips, he goes up 6-4, and 8962 is going to get another card in that endgame. And if... what else is there? 5-5. If you go 1... but you can't go in 1 in a way... oh, you could go 8915 in 1? Setting up a same in 4, so if they go 2, they're forced to flip? That's an idea. A little nuts, but it might just... might be nuts enough to hold. No, because you don't have a you could play a 49A4 and 4 there. That should win. Unless I'm being completely oblivious. So I don't see what the hold is. And I didn't actually see what Turdz' win against 8915 and 9 was, though I think there's a good chance there was one. Yeah, I don't know what Akiyama should have done here. This was a very tricky position. It's hard to leave 5 on the board. It's hard to get rid of it. I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd gone 4. That would have been a kind of funny way to play. Just getting rid of, if 9 and 5 happen, that 4 has same wall potential. Yeah, what a complex game. I'm going to start just putting the cards into the solver because I want to know what was going on here, and I definitely don't right now. I think Turdz is now winning. I think this was just... like, I don't think 8915 and 1 works, which is a very cute idea, with the point that anything in 2 is met by 1883 and 4, and anything in 7 probably doesn't. I guess anything 7 probably wins there as well. Yeah. Yeah, well, not 8962 because you're comboed, but I guess 4984 and 7 probably is a win as well. Looks like it. So I don't think there's anything here. Maybe he planned something for 4, but how could 4 possibly work? You're just getting swept up top. So I think Turdz has done it and taken the first game of the match. And a very strange... I think Akiyama is better at handling weirdish hands that look like they have weaknesses than just about anyone else. But Turdz attacked this one, I think, very, very well. And yeah, I'm really curious if going in 9 would have held. That was the best idea I had, and it didn't seem like a very good one. Alternatively, I've just completely missed everything, and this is not actually a win. I will say one thing I've noticed in Akiyama's games, and I'm not sure how true this is, but I think he benefits from an extended series. I think, much like I think myself in around 2011-12, I think he doesn't necessarily have an immediate grasp on where he wants to be hand-wise. But if you give him a little time to figure that out, his play is going to be so good, it's going to be really difficult to ever have a chance to beat him. But I could be completely wrong on that. Just a stray thought. So I think Turdz has done it. So I was curious about 7, 4, 5, 8, and 7 as Turd's third move. I was betting that was a tie because it felt like the kind of move that the solver would say, and it was a tie. That's fun to see. Um, okay, after Turd's move in 8, Akiyama had 5 ties, which is not very many. He had a tie in 1. He had 2 ties in 4. My 4 idea wasn't terrible. That's hilarious. Oh, what a great day. That's one of those moves you can only get to if you're like, what's the problem square? And just play in the problem square immediately. And I'm always proud when I get to those moves because I don't find them intuitive or obvious. It's not how I naturally think. So I'm really pleased I mentioned 4. I would not have seen 1. 8, 9, 1, 5, and 9 was indeed a tie. If Turdz plays 4, 9, 8, 4, then he is in fact losing to 1, 6, 7, 8, and 2. All right, I'm going to close the solver so we can get back to the game. Akiyama plays in 7, but after 4, 9, 8, 4, and 4, 8, 9, 6, 2 wins. And Akiyama walks into the combo, and Turdz takes the first game. Well, as we've seen this tournament, Akiyama has won every round 2-1, and he will have to again if he is to win this tournament. I'm going to put this game into my database, but a really big start for Turdz in this match. I think the 3-1s up ended up making this really difficult. And I think it's sort of curious because going in 9 immediately with 8, 9, 1, 5 on move 4 for Akiyama's second move, move 4 of the game, did hold the tie, though it did leave you with 3 kind of ridiculous looking cards. But you had to look that extra move. You had to notice if they go 5, I can combo in 2, and even though they have the combo back in 4, I was set up to have the combo back in 1. Now, even if you see that, which I did, you don't necessarily play it because it's still really scary to play because there's so much you could have missed even if you calculate that line correctly. So I don't blame him for getting scared off that, and it does make sense to me to go, I have to get rid of the 5 square. But it's sort of interesting that actually the better move was to get rid of the 4 square. Because your problem is they combo in 5, and then you're thinking they can combo back in 4. But if we play in 5, we give them 9 for free. If we play in 4, we don't give them 9 for free because we have decent play in 5 as well. So it's not quite as free giving them 9. So 4 actually has more counterplay against 9, but it has sort of follows the same idea. And I feel Akiyama must have been on the exact wrong wavelength of these moves, where 9 works, but it looks like it doesn't because of 5. Blocking 5 doesn't work, even though that seems desirable, but going one level further and blocking 4 does work again. So there's sort of 3 points of can I go 9? Do I need to block 5? Or do I need to block 4? And he ended up doing the only one on that wavelength that didn't work. But I think it was a really tricky wavelength. I think calculating out these combos is not easy, and I would have been pretty scared. Yeah, I think a very nice game by Turdz, who is really, so far at least, I think this tournament played the best triple triad he has ever played, and that's difficult to do given how much really excellent triple triad he has played in the past. And I know he said coming out of the last tournament he won, this was probably the best he has played. I think this tournament he has found more impressive moves that cut to the core of the position, even better than that last one. I'm so impressed by how Turdz has done this. And he is now clear favorite to take down the whole thing. And as I said, become potentially the first person ever. What was the move order? 3, 6, 8, 5. I missed a move in 7. Or no, 9, 4, 6, 8, 7, 8, 9, 1, 9, 4, 6, 8, 9, 8, 9, 1, 5, 7, 4, 2, 1. Yeah. Is now poised to become the first player, I believe, ever to beat all champions on the way to a championship, which would be really impressive. After this is over, I've done quick little write-ups of notes to get me ready for the discussing future games. Maybe I should cut off here, and if they play again today, do it in a new video. I really think having 3 1s up was a serious hand-making error that made this harder than it should have been. But also, Turdz got real advantage here. I do wonder how many. I think like the way Turdz played it is with the move in 8. Like if Turdz had played say 7-4-5-8 and 9, against which there are only 2 ties, does Turdz win this game? I'm not sure. Ooh, it turns out 8-9-1-5 and 8 there was not in fact a tie. That you can just block 5 and you win. Oh, that's so hard to see at distance. Just to let's quickly pop you over and show you what I'm looking at. Yeah. So if 7-4-5-8 and 9, Akiyama has to block 2 to tie. He can't go for 5 or 8. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing, and I have a spinning death ball and can't show you. But if he were to go 8, the win for Turdz is this, which is not easy to see at distance. So maybe Turdz had good winning chances with 7-4-5-8 and 9 as well. But I think the way he played it was also very promising. I think those were the 2 most promising moves. All right, let's quit out of that and probably end the video. And if they play again today, we'll have a new video. But another just great game by Turdz, and we'll see if Akiyama can come back.